And here comes Mitch Leidner onto the field. He's been throwing a lot and throwing really well, actually setting a lot of records for this Minnesota football team. Minnesota hasn't quite had a quarterback like him in a lot of time. So here as we get going, Minnesota will take control of the ball on the 25-yard line after that touchback. And Mitch Leidner comes out onto the field with his troops and players to watch today, particularly halfback Shannon Brooks, wide receiver KJ Maye, and two tight ends, Nate Wozniak and Brandon Lingen, both high-powered offensive weapons for it. KJ Maye is moving behind the line of scrimmage, and it looks like there's a flinch by part of the offensive line, and it looks they are going to call a false start there on Nate Wozniak. Nate Wozniak, hard to miss, 6'10", 271-pound tight end. He's built more like an offensive lineman than a tight end. So that's going to post Minnesota back to the 20-yard line. 1st and 15 to start this game. If we look on the Iowa defense, they're giving their typical 4-3 look. Middle linebacker Josie Jewell, a player to watch out for, forces Mitch Leidner into the shotgun. Wozniak moving across line of scrimmage. Takes it, hands it off to Shannon Brooks, dances around the left. He's at the 25, the 30, the 35, the 40, the 45, and he's finally brought down by Miles Taylor out of bounds at the 45-yard line. So a beautiful 25-yard run on 1st down and 15 by the Minnesota Golden Gophers. An excellent run by a dangerous halfback, Shannon Brooks. He's just so quick along the lines and can move horizontally and vertically, and he just gets around the entire Iowa defense right there for a huge gain out of the shotgun. 1st and 10 on the 45-yard line. Mitch Leidner is now under center. KJ Maye moving. Boxes stacked for Iowa. Here comes the blitz. Fakes the handoff to Brooks. Launches it to the right side of the field to KJ Maye, who makes a leaping catch and is brought down immediately by Greg Maben. KJ Maye has a lot of athleticism here. In a hell of a game last week, he had 116 yards and a touchdown to boot against Ohio State. So he's no stranger to big games. And combined with power like Mitch Leidner, they can really connect for some big clutch catches. So 2nd and 3 on the 47-yard line. Mitch Leidner takes it, hands it off to Shannon Brooks, who gets brought down by Reggie Spearman behind the line of scrimmage right there. So it's a loss of 1. Call it 3rd and manageable. 3rd and 4 here. 13:40 to go in the 1st quarter. And getting to these 3rd and manageable distances is a key for Minnesota here. You don't want to be forced into these 3rd and long kind of plays because it limits your playbook just so much, and when you have all these weapons, you really need to make good use of them. Mitch Leidner in the shotgun trips to the left. Brooks moving to the left. There's 4 to the left side of the field. He throws it, and it's broken up. That one was broken up by Greg Maben, and it was intended for the tight end. Brandon Lingen. So great defensive effort. Actually, it was Josie Jewell who got a hand on that ball. Greg Maben was there to make the tackle, but Josie Jewell, right in front of it, extends his right hand as he comes across on that slant route and just gets a hand in there, forces Minnesota to punt the ball away, and Minnesota punts it away from the 45-yard line. Desmond King is at the 10-yard line, decides to let it go by, and it bounces a little bit. Oh, then it starts taking an Iowa bounce, and Minnesota recovers it and stops it on the 9-yard line. So a fortunate bounce for the Hawkeyes, gives them an extra 4 yards or so. Instead of being down in the 5, they are at their 9-yard line, as CJ Beathard, the junior, comes on to lead his troops to hopefully a scoring drive here at this nighttime game in Iowa City. CJ Beathard really turning this program around. Big turn up from Jake Rudock last year. CJ Beathard at the 9-yard line in the shotgun, 2 tight end set. Wide receivers split left and right, and LeShun Daniels in the backfield. Hands it off to LeShun Daniels, who runs up the middle. And he is finally brought down after a gain of about 5. LeShun Daniels brought down by the safety Antonio Johnson. Minnesota knows to put their safeties up in this box. Iowa has a very strong running game, and they are very able to balance both the run and the pass. They have almost identical yardage gained through the air and through the ground this season, which is really quite impressive. Second down, Beathard fakes it to Daniels, and he's brought down from behind. This time by Hendrik Epke. Hendrik Epke, the junior, right defensive end. He just gets entirely behind the Iowa offensive line. He was being blocked by Boone Myers, and as you can see, he just beats Myers and gets right around to the back of Beathard's weak side. Beathard had no idea he was even there until it was too late and Beathard was on the ground. Great defensive play by the Minnesota defensive line in bringing that pressure. Forces us to a 3rd and 9. 3rd and 9 on the 8-yard line. Beathard is in the shotgun. Takes it back. Minnesota just rushes forward. He swings it out to Jordan Kenziri to the left, who makes some defenders block and is finally brought down at around the 24-yard line by Keith. A great little swing pass by CJ Beathard to Jordan Kenziri. Jordan Kenziri, one of the 3 really dangerous halfbacks on this Iowa team this year. Jordan Kenziri, a little bit more of a speed back than a power back as opposed to LeShun Daniels, his counterpart. But that was just a wonderful play by Jordan Kenziri. 1st and 10 on the 22-yard line. Beathard under center. He swings to the right to Matt Vandenberg. Matt Vandenberg is tackled right after the reception, but not before spinning for an extra, call it 4 yards. Great effort by Matt Vandenberg. Vandenberg is one of Beathard's top targets, and he's really good after contact. If you see, he has one of the highest yards after contacts in the entire conference. Very impressive receiver. Big guy, too. Matt Vandenberg clocks in at 6'1" and 185. 2nd and 7. Beathard under center. Hands it off to Kenziri up the middle, and Kenziri is brought down by the linebacker Jack Lynn, the junior. Good effort by Lynn. The linebacker saw him coming from a mile away, and that's a really good quality that you always like to see in your linebacker. Someone who can look at the line of scrimmage and just read it immediately and go in for the kill. And then that way you stop a big run by really one of the more explosive Big Ten backs in Jordan Kenziri. That brings us to 3rd and 5. There's 10:13 to go in the quarter. We're at the 27-yard line. Beathard is in the shotgun, trips to the left. Kenziri lines up wide left. Beathard takes a step back, sees no one. He starts running up the right. He's got the 1st down at the 40, and he's brought down at around, call it the 41-yard line. A great scramble by CJ Beathard. One of Beathard's most impressive qualities is probably his legs and his ability to turn nothing into something when it comes to seeing no open receivers downfield. Here you can see as CJ Beathard looks around, he's got a clean pocket, sees no one open, and he looks to his right and see there's just one defender there. Runs and gets a good block, and that's how you end up with a good scramble for a 1st down. Plenty of yardage. 1st and 10, Beathard under center. Got plenty of time in the pocket. He throws this one for a short gain to George Kittle near the right sideline. Short little curl route by George Kittle. Heavy pressure coming on Beathard. It's a surprise that he was able to complete something. At first it almost resembled that he was just throwing that one away. So good way to get the ball out of your hands, get a little bit of extra yards. That was a gain of 3 yards by Beathard on that pass to George Kittle. So now we're at 2nd and 7, 9:09 to go. On the 44-yard line, Beathard under center, again with a 2 tight end set. 2 receivers right, 1 left. Takes a shotgun snap. Minnesota just rushes forward. Plenty of time for Beathard. Dances around one defender, and he's finally brought down a yard short of the line of scrimmage. And that one right there, he was brought down by the tackle Andrew Stelter, the sophomore out of Winona, Minnesota. Local Minnesota boy, but it took a few men to bring Beathard down there. He first made Scott Epke miss around the line of scrimmage, but then, of course, Stelter came in and dropped him for a yard loss. 3rd and 7 here. 8:23 to go. Beathard once again is back in the shotgun. 2 right, 1 left, tight end on the line of scrimmage. Kanziri in the backfield. Ziri stays back to block against the blitz. Pressure is coming. Beathard rolls out right, directing traffic, throws a deep ball down the right sideline. That one was intended for Matt Vandenberg, but beautifully covered by the safety. Beautifully covered by safety. By corner. Brian Body Calhoun. Calhoun, one of the best defensive players on this Minnesota secondary. And there's a penalty. They're going to call it for holding. They're going to get holding on the opposite side safety, on the strong side safety, at Akunye Ayinde. So the safety was holding on the opposite side of the field that the pass was going for. So he's going to be kicking himself for that one, unfortunately. But hands off. Kanziri goes. Gain of about 5. So going back to that penalty on Ayinde, that negated what would have been a great defensive stop by the Minnesota secondary. Body Calhoun had Matt Vandenberg covered like a blanket, and it was a well-thrown ball, but just better defended by the Golden Gophers secondary. 2nd and 5, 7:37 to go. Kanziri, the backfield man. Minnesota brings the blitz. Beathard gets it off quickly to the left sideline to Tavon Smith. Enough for the first down, call it a gain of about 7, enough to move the sticks. Quick little pass by Beathard in the face of that pressure coming from the Minnesota box. It looked there like Eric Murray was on coverage on Tavon Smith. Let him get the completion, but dropped him immediately. 1st and 10 for Old Gold on the 35-yard line. Toss to Daniels. Runs to the right, through some defenders, through some blocks. Gains about 5, but there's a flag on the play. Back at the line of scrimmage, and it looks like this one's coming back. That's a hold on probably George Kittle. Let's listen to the officials. Correction, Henry Krager-Coble, not George Kittle, but a hold on a tight end nonetheless. So that's going to negate what would be a 5-yard gain. Turns it into a 10-yard loss. So that's going to bring up 1st and 20 for the Hawkeyes and back them about to midfield, to the 45-yard line, after the holding penalty on tight end Henry Krager-Coble. Kanziri back in the backfield in lieu of LeShun Daniels. Tight end, 1 left, 2 right. Takes a shotgun snap. Minnesota just rushes 4, heavily covered in the zone, and George Kittle gets it off. He spins around a defender, and the ball comes loose, and the Gophers claim they have it. The officials claim that the ball was turned over as well. It looks like George Kittle on the reception spun around a defender. That defender was Antonio Johnson, the safety. And after the contact by Johnson, linebacker Jonathan Celestin got in and got a piece of it, and that's when the ball looks to have come out. But as this review is being played, they're definitely going to be looking at this, as all turnovers and scoring plays are reviewed. It really looks like he was down just a second before that ball was jarred loose when Antonio Johnson put him down. And as we can look, right as Johnson has Kittle's arm and is spinning him around, the knee and elbow makes contact. That's when Celestin comes in and knocks the ball out. So that one's gonna stay with Iowa, much to the Gophers' dismay. 2nd and 15 though, after avoiding that costly potential turnover. 6:24 to go in this quarter. And that brings Iowa back to the 40-yard line. 6 in the box for Minnesota. Shotgun snap. Kanziri stays back. Oh, and they put some heavy pressure on him. Beathard just tries to shovel past this one to Kanziri, but it's broken up. That one's broken up by Galen Elmore, the D lineman, who got a hand on that one as it was thrown up. Could have very easily been picked off if he was playing a little more heads up, but a great defensive effort nonetheless to stop a potential dump off to a very dangerous halfback. 3rd down for Iowa on the 40-yard line. Beathard in the shotgun. Minnesota rushes 5, brings a corner on a blitz. Beathard gets one right off to the middle to Matt Vandenberg. About 5 yards further than the sticks, so call it an 18-yard gain, enough for the 1st down, and thrown into a very tight window with some very heavy pressure coming. Eric Murray, the corner, was sent out to really get a hand on Beathard, but Beathard heads up enough to see Matt Vandenberg there and put a very, very tightly placed, well-placed ball into the hands of one of his star receivers to set Iowa up with a 1st and 10. That's on the 22-yard line now. 2 tight end set. Steps back, looks around, throws one up the middle. That one was going for Henry Krager-Kobel, the tight end, who was in the end zone, tried to turn around and make a diving one-handed catch, but was unable to reel it in. Beathard just overthrew that one by just a little bit. And that was Body Calhoun on coverage on Krager-Kobel again. Calhoun's someone you have to watch out for now. Very effective pass defender. 2nd and 10. 5:32 to go here in Kinnick Stadium. The box is stacked. Daniels in the backfield takes a snap, handoff to Daniels, dances around the left. He's at the 20, the 15, the 10, way past the 1st down at the 5, and he is pushed out finally by Antonio Johnson, but not before making it well into the red zone, and Iowa will be knocking on the door at the 4-yard line, 1st and goal. And Daniels had a great block by Matt Vandenberg. Body Calhoun could have stopped that one, but Matt Vandenberg got in and laid a great block path for LeShun Daniels. At just 6'1", 185, he's quite an efficient blocker. 1st and 10. Daniels. Gain of 1, if that. Stood up at the line of scrimmage as the clock continues ticking. 4:52. So we've seen some very short gains in the 1 to 2 yard range, and we've seen some very long gains in the 20-plus range, both by Daniels and by Brooks. So we've yet to see some really mid-range rushes from either team so far. These are 2 very similar backs, LeShun Daniels and Shannon Brooks. 2nd and goal. Daniels up the right. Johnson misses. Daniels goes in for the touchdown. Old Gold puts 6 on the board by LeShun Daniels. And that beautifully talented Iowa offensive line. Wonderful play by the Hawkeyes, by the line. Daniels dancing up, spinning around on his feet, and making one of the great open field tacklers in this Minnesota secondary, the senior Antonio Johnson, making him miss and making him pay for it. Kane's PAT is good, and that puts Iowa up 7-0, as Kane will get ready to kick the ball after we return from this commercial break. Thank you for tuning in. We'll pause for station identification and commercial. You're listening to Primetime Big Ten Football on the Farm Radio Network. And welcome back to the Farm Radio Network. After that beautiful 17-play, 91-yard drive that ended in a touchdown, that was just a very impressive play and a very effective mix of not just rushing and passing, but of screen passes, of slant passes, of outside running, and inside running as well. And by utilizing both those halfbacks that Iowa has, it really puts a strain on the defenses, because each of these backs, Daniels and Kanziri, both have different ways that they can run. Kanziri is a very good receiver out of the backfield, as well as a good fast halfback. But Daniels, while a power back, is clearly shown that he's able to make those big outside runs as well. And Gardner takes a kick in the end zone, thinks about fielding it, but just takes a knee. And once again, Leidner will come out on the 25-yard line to see if he can't get something else going for the Golden Gophers and hopefully not punt it away like he did last time. Great way for Minnesota to stay competitive is to utilize their two biggest weapons, Shannon Brooks and KJ Maye. We've already talked about this, but Shannon Brooks, boy, just such a quick halfback, such a good receiver, very effective at what he does. 1st and 10 on the 25, two tight end set, and fakes it to Brooks, passes it to the right, and that pass is going to be for the tight end Brandon Lingen along the right sideline, brought down by Miles Taylor. Call it a gain of 4 yards on the quick pass to the tight end by Mitch Leidner. I expect to see a lot of KJ Maye here as well. KJ Maye, we saw him with one grab in that opening drive, but he is just so incredibly athletic. Mitch Leidner takes the snap, option, keeps it, gains about 6, enough for the 1st down. Very effective use of Shannon Brooks, not just as a runner, but as a decoy. He is such an effective halfback that you're getting an entire defense faked out looking for Brooks. Where's Brooks? What's he doing? That it allows for your quarterback to make those kinds of reads. And Mitch Leidner is a very smart quarterback, and he's got very good legs, so he can make those kinds of plays happen. That was an easy 1st down for the Golden Gophers. 1st and 10 on the 35. Leidner steps back, looks around to pass, got all the time in the world, throws it towards the right sideline. Oof. And that one was broken up by Josie Jewell and Greg Mabin. It was intended for the tight end Lingen again, but there's a flag on the field. Looks like they're going to be getting someone for pass interference, and that one will be on Greg Mabin. Let's have a look and see where the PI was. So Leidner throws it up to Lingen, and there it is. Greg Mabin got a hand on him just a little bit early, perhaps a half second too early, and started wrapping him up. And if he had not done that, could have been an easy pass breakup, but they'll make him pay for it. 1st and 10 after that PI call at the Iowa 49-yard line. Leidner takes a high snap, hands it to Brooks. Brooks makes contact right at the line of scrimmage, but pushes a little bit forward and turns a 1-yard gain into about a 4-yard gain. Gets up to the Iowa 45-yard line. Minnesota starting to dig into Iowa territory with an equally as effective mix of short passing and running as Iowa displayed on their last drive. So that brings it up to 2nd and 5. We have 2:59 to go. The Iowa 45-yard line. Leidner takes a snap, swings it out left to Brooks. Brooks makes Jewell miss and gets tossed around by Desmond King and turns what would have been a 2-yard gain into a 5-yard gain, enough to move the sticks. That's one of Brooks's desirable qualities. He's not a huge guy. He clocks in at just about 200 pounds, 6 feet, 200 pounds. So a very medium-sized power back, smaller than Iowa's backs, but he can take a little bit of extra yards, and that's the difference between a 1st down and a 3rd down. 1st and 10, fakes the handoff to Brooks. Airs one up the middle, and it's KJ Maye who had a good 2 steps on Greg Mabin right towards the middle of the field, and he is inside the 5-yard line. Looks like KJ Maye, who was guarded by Greg Mabin in a kind of in and out route. Looks like he made Greg Mabin miss on that cut and made Greg Mabin pay by putting the Golden Gophers inside the 5-yard line after the big pass play by Mitch Leidner and KJ Maye. So it looks like we're going to be looking at 1st and goal at the 4-yard line as Minnesota is knocking on the door. There's 2:09 to go. Iowa up 7-0. And Greg Mabin was a little slow to get up from that last one. And the officials look to be having a word with the cornerback. And they're going to put him on the sideline for those safety calls. So Greg Mabin is out. Mitch Leidner option keeper right into the end zone. That's an almost identical play that we saw on that good third down conversion earlier this drive. Exactly the same play, except this time Leidner walks in for 6 points. These linebackers are watching Shannon Brooks, and with good reason. Shannon Brooks is someone that you really have to keep an eye on. But it opens up those opportunities for Mitch Leidner, a very effective mobile quarterback, to make those kinds of reads and then walk unimpeded into the end zone. And just like that, Golden Gopher is tied 7-0 with Iowa as we will take a moment for commercial breaks here on the Farm Radio Network. And this night game from Iowa City. And welcome back to Kinnick Stadium for this nighttime game here. We're tied 7-7, Iowa and undefeated Iowa and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. After that great use of Mitch Leidner's read option, and his use of legs, really with some key conversions and eventually a touchdown. Great play by them. King fields it at the 5, and he runs up the middle and is brought down at the 23-yard line. Desmond King, of course, one of the nation's premier cornerbacks, also an excellent kick and punt returner, seems almost resistant to any kind of special teams play. Desmond King is very quick, and he's already ran 3 back for scoring plays this year. So very impressive corner, very dangerous kick returner. As we look, tied up, 23-yard line, 1:50 to go. Beathard under the center. Fakes the handoff, gets it to Matt Vandenberg on a slant right along the right hash mark. He is brought down by Jack Lynn. Call it a 9-yard gain. He's pushed right before the first down marker. So not quite enough, but a great quick little pass by Matt Vandenberg. Spot on by quarterback CJ Beathard. Beathard has only thrown 1 pass incomplete today. That was that end zone shot at George Kittle. Otherwise, he's been very accurate. 2nd and 1, 1:15 to go. Hand off to Kanziri. Runs past the right hash mark, and he gains about 4 to stop the clock and move the sticks. 4-yard gain by Jordan Kanziri. Kanziri brought down by linebacker Cody Pook. 1st and 10 on the 35-yard line. Beathard under center. Daniels in the backfield. 2 tight ends once again. 2 tight ends to the left, the strong side of the field. Hand off to Daniels, makes one guy miss, and he's off to the races on the left side. And he's finally brought down after a 25-yard gain by Adekunle Ayinde. And that tackle by Ayinde was the difference between another 6 points on the board for LeShun Daniels. That was almost identical to that wonderful running play we saw earlier as he breaks past the tackles, but then goes to the outside where he only has 1 corner and 1 safety to beat. And right there, the safety got him, but not before giving up 25. 1st and 10 on the 40-yard line. Beathard, all the time in the world, he steps to the left, starts to scramble. He gets brought down, but stays on his feet, and he's pushed out at the 25-yard line. Beautiful 15-yard scramble by CJ Beathard as he's pushed out of bounds, but he gets up just fine. There's a flag on the field. We're going to see what this one is for. They're going to call holding, it appears. And it looks like Kirk Ferentz will decline this penalty for obvious reasons. Beathard gained 15 on that scramble. So the holding call is negated, but this Minnesota defense gave up a 15-yard scramble, which should have been just a 2-yard gain. You see Antonio Johnson came up and tried to make the tackle a couple of yards past the line of scrimmage on the left side of the field, but got Beathard by just the shoe, and Beathard was able to walk out of that unscathed. Then Eric Murray gets called for the hold. So after that 15-yard gain, that puts Iowa at the 20-yard line as they get ready to advance the ball further in the second quarter. As we join us here in the second quarter here at this night game in Kinnick Stadium. Iowa knocking on the door, tied at 7 at the 15-yard line, excuse me. Beathard under center, 2 tight ends. Kanziri, stiff arm. And, pardon, that was Kanziri, that was Daniels. Daniels races down the right sideline on the outside and is brought down by Antonio Johnson at about the 1-yard line. He was a step away from stepping into the end zone. And there he goes. Right along the outside, Antonio Johnson there to make the stop. But Jacob Hillier, wide receiver, the senior, a little banged up from that. Beathard bootleg to the right, and he fakes out the entire Minnesota defense, looking to pass it, faking the handoff to Daniels to the left, which this Minnesota defense has been seeing and getting burned a lot tonight. Great play by CJ Beathard. After that fake handoff, he just walks right in to the end zone for a cool 6. Marshall Kane now to kick the extra point in that 6-play drive. And Kane's kick is good. That puts Old Gold up 14-7 as we take a break for commercials here in Kinnick Stadium. You're listening to the Big Ten primetime football on the Farm Radio Network. 2 running touchdowns tonight for the Hawkeyes and 1 running touchdown for the Gophers. So you're seeing a lot of legs, and we'll hope to see more of them after this break. Stay tuned.